Now let's discuss a hook named useHistory. The useHistory hook returns the history object which you can refer to deal with the history programmatically. That means you can navigate through the history programmatically. Let's practically try it in the tDetails component. Here in the tDetails component, let me first of all import the useHistory. So now let me just say const history. This is going to be the object is equal to useHistory. Let me also put comments for this console log, and let me say console log history. So this will display the value of history object. Let's save this and check the output. So here I'm going to say localhost 3000. Then I'll click on tutorials and let me click on regular expression. Now you see this is the history object. Let me expand this. As you see, the history object has a length property which shows a number. This actually is number of entries in the history stack. The second you see is action, which is the current action which can be push, replace or pop. Then you see the push here, which pushes a new entry in the history stack, which we will see in few minutes. It also has the go back and go forward like methods, which you can use to programmatically move to a specific entry or just one entry backward or forward respectively. So let's try go back for a reference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button here. I'll say button. Let me have the on click event and open the curly bracket, and I write a function here. Now here I'm going to say history dot. You see it has the methods. So I'm going to say history dot go back, and let's put some text also, go back, and end the button and just save this. Now I will click on tutorials and regex course. Now let me click React 17, then JavaScript, and then TypeScript. So now if I click the go back button, it will go in absolutely reverse order of my previous selections. That is TypeScript, JavaScript, React 17, regex, again regex because when the page was loaded it was regex, and tutorials. So this is how the go back feature is implemented with history object. Now let's try the push method as well. I will put a home button which will take me to home by adding a value to history stack. So let's add a button. I'll say on click, again the function and history.push, and here I just say /home, and let me write home here. That's it. Let's save this and check the output. Now let's click the tutorials, and I click here on the regex, and again I click home. So now when I click home, it pushes one entry and that becomes the current stack value. So it brings me to the home page. So the history object can be used for navigation in this way. Now let's talk about few relative questions. The first question is, how can you access the history object with the React router? Of course, you use the useHistory hook which returns the history object, and that has various values which we discussed. You can certainly answer those. Like push, we have replace method. Replace I'm going to discuss in next question though. We also have the number of entries in the history stack, that means the length property. We also have go back and go forward methods where we can move the pointer to a specific stack entry as well. It also has a location which gives the path name, that is the URL which is currently selected. And now let's talk about the next question where I'm discussing the replace method as well. So the next question is, what is the difference between history.push and history.replace method? So the difference between history push and history replace is when you use push method, it adds an entry so you can go back, that is the previous page. But if you use replace, it won't allow you to go back. It is almost like redirecting. Let's see it practically as well. We already have push here. Let me change this to push tutorials /regex, and instead of home Here also I'll say regex. Let's save this and check the output. Now I click on tutorials, then I click JavaScript. Now I click this regex button, which takes me to regex. Again I click the back button and it takes me to JavaScript, which was the previous page. So this is how we were able to switch to the previous link. Now let me go back to the coding, and instead of push, I'll just say replace. Now let's save and go for the output. I'll click tutorials and JavaScript. Now I click the regex button, which takes me to the regex. And now let me click the go back button. So you see that with push, it took me to the JavaScript as it was in the previous entry. But here it does not, because the history is replaced rather than added. So this is the difference between push and replace of history object.